Hey everyone, Brett and the Bad Hat back again today. On today's episode, I'm going to show you how to get the best result using one of these. Alright, so what I've got here, I've got a Subaru WRX center console out of a mate's car. He's asked me nicely to freshen up for him. He did attempt to plastic dip this, and as you can see, it's got a bit of residue and stuff still on it. So what I'm going to do is, first things first, I've got to clean it all up, get all that stuff off, and then give it a scuff. And then what I've got here, I've got some plastic primer. I've got some actual primer in case there's anything in there that needs to, sort of be built up and filled in. And then I've got our color. So these cans, any automotive paint shop will be able to mix you up these colors if you go in and ask them for them, but obviously any hardware store and stuff do them as well. Let's get it. All right, so I've got everything sanded, cleaned, set up, happy with the way it's set up, all ready to go. So I just scuffed it with a foam pad, which is probably 400 grit, roughly. Anything finer than that, 400 or 500 should be fine. Make sure it's clean. Wax and grease it as many times as you need to make sure that it is clean, especially interior parts of cars. They have a tendency to be, cleaning products that are full of silicone and all that sort of stuff. So now what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna give this plastic prime, which is just a spray on plastic primer. You don't need to do anything else with this stuff besides literally just put it on, let it flash off, and then basically what we'll do is from here we'll put on our primer, our actual primer, that one, and then we'll let that dry off, and then we'll give that a sand, and then we'll top coat it. All right, let's do it. Alright, so another quick thing too, make sure that when you spray this, don't have your finger over the end. Make sure you have it behind the nozzle, otherwise you end up painting the bottom of your finger. So the trick is light coats. This stuff is like 70% thinners. You put it on too heavy, all it's going to do is run. Sometimes 4 or 5 coats on the top coat. If you need to do more, we'll be fine. Alright guys, so I put two and a half coats of primer on this with the rattle cans. So now I'm just letting it dry. So ideally, you really want to let this dry sort of overnight, but obviously you can force dry it as much as you want to, sand it and so on and so forth. So basically, if you do want to sand it and get it over with as fast as you can, you want to make sure that it's touch dry, and if you start to sand it and it starts to tear, then you know it's still too soft. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get our actual black that we're going to use as a top coat and just give this a quick guide coat so we know where we're sanding. And that'll give us something to refer to when we start sanding it. When you're sanding this stuff too, please make sure that you don't over sand it, because if you sand through it, you'll have to prime it again. This stuff can be very, very temperamental. If you sand through it, it's very, very likely that it'll want to fry up on you. Also, a quick tip, when you're finished with your spray cans, turn them upside down, empty them out, they'll be good to go again next time. Put them up on the shelf, and they'll be fine to go. Alright, so I've got everything sanded and cleaned and ready to go. So as you can see, I've tried my hardest to not over sand them. I've just sort of sanded them enough just to make them smooth. Given them a light wax and grease, and now we're ready to go. Alright, so again, reminder, when you're painting this stuff, don't be afraid to put on lighter coats, but more of them. If you rush it, you will stuff it. You have to go again. Alrighty guys, so we're all done. Just gotta let it dry now overnight. I will not touch this now until tomorrow. I hope you found this educational and helpful. If so, smash that subscribe button and wait for some more content because I've got some cool stuff coming up. I'll get some footage of this in the car too. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your night. Peace.